I should have known something was wrong the moment I walked in and saw her. My wife, the woman I trusted with every fragment of my heart, froze. Not the kind of pause that comes from surprise or delight. This was the cold, rigid kind that screams guilt. Her eyes widened, and her mouth opened slightly as if she had forgotten how to speak. And then I saw him, or rather her. Her lover's wife. The very woman I never imagined I would meet outside the whispered confessions that eventually reached me through a friend. I stood there, frozen for a heartbeat, while a cruel, exhilarating thought struck me. If I was feeling shock now, what was she feeling? The party was in full swing. Music thumped through the house. Laughter floated over clinking glasses. And yet everything around me seemed distant, muffled. I could feel my pulse in my throat, my hands tightening into fists. I had come not just to attend this gathering, but to confront the truth, armed with something they had never expected. I had come with her. I moved forward slowly, deliberately, keeping my expression neutral, though inside a storm raged. Every step echoed in my mind, each one bringing me closer to a revelation that had been brewing for months. "Hey, everyone," I said, trying to sound casual as I entered the brightly lit living room. The chatter of friends and colleagues faded behind a sharp, ringing silence that seemed to form around her. She didn't move. Her gaze flitted to me, then to the woman standing beside me, her lips quivering as if she were trying to form words but couldn't. I could almost hear her thoughts, a frantic, chaotic symphony of denial, fear, and panic. I cleared my throat. "This is, someone I thought you should meet." Her lover's wife smiled politely, unaware, or maybe fully aware, of the tension crackling between us. She extended her hand, and I shook it, letting the gesture speak volumes without a single word. "This is going to be interesting," I said, my voice low but steady, letting her feel the weight of every syllable. I saw it then, the small twitch at the corner of her eye, the faint flush on her neck. She had been caught, and she knew it. The party went on, but nothing felt normal. I watched as she tried to navigate conversations, her laughter forced, her body tense. I could see the way she glanced at her phone every few minutes, hoping for a distraction, hoping for a way out. I wanted to step closer, confront her outright, but I held back. Let her suffer in silence for a moment. Let her feel the consequences of the choices she thought she had hidden. Had started months ago. Small things, little slips in conversations, forgotten messages, strange work trips. I told myself I was imagining it, that maybe it was just paranoia, but something deep in my gut told me otherwise. The truth had a way of surfacing, often when you least expected it. And now here it was, all laid bare in the brightest light of a social gathering, surrounded by people who had no idea what had been happening behind closed doors. I slipped into the kitchen to grab a glass of water, trying to calm the furious, twisting emotions inside me. Betrayal wasn't just about the act itself. It was about the erosion of trust, the subtle poison that had seeped into our lives long before this moment. Every shared laugh, every late-night conversation, every tender touch, they were all tainted now. You shouldn't be here," she said finally, her voice breaking slightly, though she tried to mask it with anger. I turned to her, my expression unreadable. "I think it's exactly the place I should be," I replied calmly. "After all, I thought it was only fair that you meet someone important." Her face paled. What do you mean?" I gestured toward the woman beside me. "Her. She's your friend's wife." The words landed like stones, heavy and undeniable. She stared at me, her mouth opening and closing, trying to find something to say, some defense, but there was none. The truth was a wall she couldn't climb. I could feel the energy in the room shift. Guests began to notice, murmurs spreading like wildfire. I didn't care. All that mattered was the look on her face, the realization that everything she had hidden was now visible, exposed. She tried to pull me aside, whispering urgently, "Please, not here. We can talk later." I shook my head. "No, now is the perfect time. I've been patient, waiting for the right moment. And this is it." Her lover's wife looked at her, confusion mixing with subtle recognition. I don't understand," she said. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. You see, there's been a lot happening behind closed doors. Secrets, ways, betrayals. And now, everyone gets to witness the consequences. My wife's eyes filled with tears. For a moment, I saw the woman I had loved, the one who had shared dreams and whispered promises in the dark, shrink under the weight of her choices. The guests started to murmur more loudly. Someone asked a question, and she froze, unable to respond. The tension was unbearable, but I didn't look away. I didn't want to. This was the moment of reckoning she had avoided for so long, and I was going to make sure she felt it fully. You thought I wouldn't find out, I said quietly, leaning closer so only she could hear. You thought you could betray me without facing me. But here I am. Her lips trembled. I didn't. I never meant. Never meant what? I interrupted, my voice rising slightly. To ruin us. To destroy what we had. 'Cause you did. Every day, piece by piece, until there's nothing left. The room was silent now, the music drowned out by the storm of emotions. Eyes were on us, yet I felt utterly alone with her. This confrontation wasn't about humiliation. It was about truth, the raw, unfiltered truth that she had tried to avoid. She sank onto a chair, burying her face in her hands. I'm sorry, she whispered, but I could hear the hollow weight of her words. They were empty, rehearsed, meaningless without action to back them up. I sighed a deep, weary sound. Sorry doesn't fix this. It never will. You've made your choices, and now you live with them. Her lover's wife stood quietly, watching, a mixture of shock and pity on her face. I didn't blame her. None of this had been her doing, yet she was caught in the crossfire of someone else's deceit. I stepped closer to my wife, looking into her tear-streaked face. Do you know what hurts the most? I asked softly. It's not just that you cheated. It's that I believed in you, trusted you completely. I gave you everything and you threw it away. You didn't just betray me. You betrayed yourself and the life we built together. She nodded weakly, unable to speak. The room seemed to shrink, the walls closing in with the weight of unspoken truths. I thought about our life, the late-night talks, the shared laughter, the quiet mornings with coffee and soft music. I thought about the plans we had made, the dreams we had nurtured together. And I realized that all of it had been a lie, or at least tainted by lies I hadn't seen until now. You're going to have to leave, I said finally, my voice cold but steady. I can't live like this. Not with the constant reminder of what you've done. Her head snapped up, disbelief flashing across her face. You can't just. Yes, I can, I interrupted firmly. And I will. This ends tonight. I turned toward the door, signaling for her to follow. Guests whispered, some too shocked to speak, while others looked at me with a strange mix of admiration and pity. I didn't care about their judgment. This was about reclaiming my life, my dignity, and my sense of self. As we stepped outside, the cool night air hit us, and she shivered. Not from the cold, but from the reality she could no longer escape. I felt a strange sense of calm, a clarity that had eluded me during months of suspicion and pain. Where are we going? She asked, her voice trembling. To your new life, I said quietly. And to the consequences of your actions. You'll have to face them. Not me, not now, not ever again. But everyone else. You'll see how far the truth spreads. She fell silent, the weight of her guilt pressing down like a physical force. I could almost hear her thoughts racing, the desperate attempts to justify, to deny, to beg. But there was nothing left to say. We returned to the party briefly, just long enough for her lover's wife to witness the finality of our confrontation. The subtle nod I gave her spoke volumes, a silent acknowledgement of shared understanding, of survival, of truth unveiled. Then we left. The drive home was quiet. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. Words had lost their power. Actions had taken over. And in that silence, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Freedom. The freedom that comes from no longer living in the shadow of lies, from no longer carrying the weight of betrayal. I knew the road ahead would be difficult. She would try to reconcile, to plead, to manipulate. But I had learned something crucial in that moment. Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed again. Some truths, once revealed, change everything. When I walked into our home, I paused by the hallway mirror. I saw the man I had become, hardened, aware, unafraid of facing the truth. And for the first time in a long time I felt whole. Not because the betrayal had ended, but because I had chosen to confront it, to claim my own power, and to refuse to be victimized by someone else's mistakes. Later, when the news of the confrontation spread among friends and family, I didn't respond to gossip or whispers. I didn't need to. The damage had been done where it mattered most, within the confines of our lives, between the walls that had held our shared history. The betrayal had been exposed. The liar had been caught. And I had survived. Weeks passed. Life moved forward in unexpected ways. The pain lingered, of course, but it softened into a reminder, a lesson about trust, love, and self-respect. I began to rebuild piece by piece, focusing on what mattered. My own sense of integrity, my future, and the small joys that had once been overshadowed by heartbreak. Occasionally I would think of her. Not with longing, not with desire, but with a strange sense of closure. The woman I loved had changed, perhaps beyond repair, and I had accepted that reality. And in accepting it, I had finally let go. Sometimes late at night I could still hear the echoes of that party, the tension, the fear, the shock in her eyes. But instead of pain I felt clarity. I had witnessed the worst, endured it, and emerged stronger. I had faced betrayal and walked away unbroken. And that, more than anything, was my victory.